Hello YouTube, I've got a very special teardown video for you today. I have a lovely gem from a high-tech scrapyard that I found through a connection and a friend. If you haven't seen the video title yet, this is a man-portable SATCOM unit. This is meant to interface with the antenna on a satellite dish for receive and transmit, and supposedly I think this is either terrestrial ground link to Ethernet over IP, which is behind some connectors, or repeater for terrestrial communications. When we saw this initially in the scrapyard, we saw what looked like a radio out of a cell site or something like that, cell phone site. But then we noticed some odd details. Besides the non-standard form factor, there's this odd-looking, very heavy-duty bracket bolted right on top, right? There's what looks to be a weatherproof ruggedized casing all around, with nice amphenol connectors, waterproof pretty much for the most part, and a bubble level, right? So it makes you wonder what this thing is for. A whole bunch more digging, and we find out that this is actually a SATCOM receiver. This is actually intended to be rigged up with feet on all four corners with a satellite dish, parabolic dish with a pan tilt motor clamped on top and plugged into the high power transmit and the satellite receive connectors. But otherwise, this is probably going to be a multi-part teardown video as I go deeper and deeper into the guts of this thing, because this is a very complex piece of kit. First off, to start on the outside, we have transmit and receive connectors on the front. We've got two Ethernet connections hidden behind these amphenol dust and waterproof covers. We've got some kind of an LCD screen with two buttons. We've got a couple connections, one for a GPS, an external TX, external RX, and this power switch, which, check that out. You actually have to pull this switch out to twist it and turn. It looks like there's an off, an on, and a backlit position. But regardless of that, time to start. Instead of cracking into the top cover of this, I'm going to show you the bottom of this, where when we found this, it was already missing the bottom cover. Alright, so this bay seems to be most of the RF signal pathway here. Now, just looking at this, it looks pretty complicated, but through a whole bunch of digging and researching, this unit is actually related to the L3 Communications 81,000 model SATCOM transceiver. There's actually a picture here, which I'll throw up on the screen, of the pathway here. Not the pathway, the, I guess, geometry arrangement. It's pretty much verbatim, where you've got an up converter, a down converter, a voltage and power distribution board, and then the solid-state power amplifier here. So, rolling through this, we've got the power amplifier stage here, and here's a transmit connector. We've got the up converter. So this takes the intermediate frequency coming out of some kind of a modem, and it up converts it to several gigahertz for transmit to a satellite dish. And then on this side we have the receive, which goes through what appears to be a notch filter. This is an active component, even though it's got this folded filter geometry inside. It's actually got ground and power pin here. And then we've got this block down converter. So, time to start tearing down into this. All of these components don't really have data sheets, which led me to the next thought that, hey, this thing might actually be, old military surplus or something. So we've got these very nicely laid out ribbon cable assemblies, which I'm just going to pull out of the way. And I'm going to show you inside here. So, like I was saying, here's the down converter. The RF signal path comes into this filter, and it goes back out through the down converter to be converted back to an IF that a modem unit can receive. You've got a whole bunch of, well, a pair of DB25 connectors here on the far left, which go through this case into the back of this, as well as two SMA connectors for the transmit and receive. It looks like all the wires through here come into this board, which is power distribution, and then there's the second D-sub connector, which is actually a ribbon cable that's crimped. And it's interesting because all of these three boards share this common connector type, and they all seem to be laid out in a row here. They actually might be somewhat mirrored on this, so maybe it's a communication bus like an SPI, and they use chip select pins to determine which one of these they want to talk to, set the relevant bits or settings, and then set it and forget it. There's some other small IDC connector, and then a large one here, probably for power, as well as all these power connections leading back here. Now, I'm actually going to put all this back together real quick, and then I'm going to go into the other side. I will start tearing down, I promise. But I do want to see if I can power this thing up before I go any further. Also notice all these copper fingers here for RF shielding and grounding. Now, it's a real shame that I don't have any kind of a software-defined radio setup like a hack RF, because then I could potentially generate some kind of signal to inject into the up converter and transmit into a dummy load, but I don't, so for now let's just keep moving forward. We've got this cover here, which also this thing appears to be all imperial threaded. Imperial standard sizes. Now, with all these Amphenol connectors, and as North American, this kind of a case, this kind of construction, the connectors here, I looked up on Google on the connectors on the back, and they actually do have a military specification associated with them. So they're zinc chromate coated with a cadmium plating, so make sure to wash your hands after handling this. But I don't know about the actual case. I did do a scratch test on the side to see whether or not this was magnesium or aluminum, because the wall here is pretty thin, and it looks like it's conduction cooled. One interesting thing to note is that there are three socket head cap screws on this side, and it actually seems to be that L3 Communications and NARDA, they designed this so it's modular. This entire RF block can be removed, or rather it's built and then connected to another common component in order to make one whole unit. They have another unit where it's just this block with a small little control module up top. Oh, beauty. So look at this. CNC milled back cover. You can see the machining marks. It looks like it's been anodized aluminum. We've got silicone conduction cooling pads for what appears to be a couple components here. What's funny is that it don't seem to match up with very many components. It's odd that we've got this board here, which from the looks of the back side of it, it's got like a whole bunch of switch mode going on in the background here. Some ribbon cables, a hermetically sealed lithium battery, then the back side of these connections. So this is the GPS connection, a very thin lead. We've got two SMA connectors inside, which lead to these TNC connectors on the outside for transmit and receive. There's the back of this power switch, which again is super high spec. It's twist and turn, machined metal knob. But yeah, pretty uneventful, so I'm just going to seal this cover back on for now with just a few screws. This thing's pretty heavy. They mean man portable, not lightweight. Top lid seems to have much fewer screws, which is probably a sign that this thing's been opened up, decommissioned, and then the minimal amount of effort was put back into reclosing this. This is a really nice enclosure, so chances are all the RF components are above my ability to repurpose, just because proprietary and or mil-spec data sheets, I'll never find out how to control them. So this cover comes off. More Siltherm conduction pads. There's some funky heatsink here, and well, okay, so we've got this heat pipe from this back area here. This heat pipe leads to this metal heatsink, which has more fins, and that clamps onto the lid with another conduction cooling pad. We've got a whole bunch more conduction cooling pads with these, what look to be some grade of aluminum heat spreader. Again, everything's CNC machine, so it's a work of art. Just look at that. Tilt it in the light so you can see all the machining patterns. It's practically pornographic. Okay, set that aside. What do we got here? Big heatsink. The power amplifier stage is right underneath here. So that would make sense. If these fans draw in air, it draws the coolest air in the front to cool the most important part down. And then it cools the rest of the, I guess, RF block. And then it gets to the heatsink. Given that these two connectors are power from the back, the connectors say DC input from power converter and aux 12 to 48 VDC input. Here is your power stage where you've got, I guess, what appears to be this harness going to the D-sub connector on the bottom. This harness, which is, I think, control from here. Yeah, this is the power stage in the back. And again, we've got more of this RF gasket silicone grease to keep everything super sealed tight. What do we got here? So we got a couple regular SMA connectors, but these are Teflon insulated cables. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. We've got a connector that says, if I can get it to focus. Hi, pay attention to my hand, please. MDMTX. It really doesn't want to focus today. Yeah, modem transmit. We've got iDirect modem. I'm going to disconnect this for now, just to get it out of the way. And what looks to be a machined pin connector here. Some connectors going to these flat Ethernet cables. These are flat molded TIA 568B compliant but twisted pair, so they're super low profile thin, but they're twisted pair internally. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a twisted pair pattern, and it said 4 pair stranded. Yeah, okay, so we've got this Ethernet connection that also happens to have 1 pair branched off, so my suspicion is this is some degree of power over Ethernet, maybe? Just because of the gauge of the wire and the fact that the wire is not twisted. This brown and white brown wire isn't even twisted, so they don't care about signal integrity. They just jam it onto 2 pins on this connector. Alright, so we got modem J2. And disconnect this connector. So it looks like there's a Ethernet switch buried under here. J2 net 1. And modem J2 again. We've got modem RX. So we've got modem transmit and receive up here. We've got the external transmit and receive lines here. These are the SMA lines that go out to the front. And then we've got RFE TX, RFE RX. So the receive side comes in here, and there's, okay, so the receive coax comes up to here, and there's one RF can here, which connects to this connector, right? This is the RX connector for the modem. And then there's an external RX cable that goes out to here. Oh, it helps if the alligator clip's not touching the casing that's grounded. Oh, hey, look at that. Oh, wow. It's not entirely brain dead. Look at that. It's booting? Holy shit, it's drawing 7 amps. This is a power-hungry little bugger. Yeah, the air flows backwards, so it's drawing air out the back. Oh my gosh. It's booting, it's booting. Oh my goodness, look at all that. Oh, will you look at that? Okay, let's reposition this camera. Okay, so it looks like I'm on VDC, not VAC. Power DC, some alarm, GPS, STA, RxTX. I guess this is power level, net and encoder or something. Lat launch. So this thing actually is intelligent enough to receive GPS. I wish I had a GPS antenna to plug into this thing. But the fans are certainly powering up. Let's see, I've got modem power, RFE comm, DRO lock, GPS comm, no modem connections, and block up converter, lock, fail, block up converter, no good. That's interesting. Oh wow, it even says all the internal voltage rails. Look at that, 12 volt fan, battery. It's still got power on the battery. That's incredible. Look at that. Alright, so the interesting thing that I noticed is that it powered up. I've got an Ethernet switch in here. What happens if I plug a network cable into this? Kids, don't try this at home where you plug a piece of military surplus hardware into your home network. But yeah, let's see what happens. Oh, wrong one. Other LEDs, link lights. Oh, hot damn. I'm getting something. I'm getting network traffic on that side. I assigned 192.168.0.1 for this laptop, and I got one response. Look at that! I actually have, I have some kind of connectivity information here. Any of these links clickable? Oh my goodness. I have control! Look at that! I don't want to take this apart anymore. I thought it was going to be, I thought this was going to be a complete write-off. I thought, you know, they would have decommissioned it, wiped the firmware. Transmitter. It's getting pretty warm, 43 degrees. I disabled the transmitter and suddenly the power draw from the thing goes down. What happens if I go to point? Oh, I can. If I had GPS connectivity, I could actually point it. I guess they had the pan tilt motor connected through Ethernet. Modem password. Oh no, you have to plug in. Oh, okay, so the modem board has its own password. GPS manual. Oh, option files. I want to save all these files and take a look at what they say. Troubleshoot. Modem's not available. Event log. Well, 26/10/22, that's almost today. Wow. Frequency 950 megahertz. That's a little bit of an odd frequency for satellite. Yeah, okay, so I guess it's missing a couple things. That is cool. So check this out. I'm looking through the config file that they set for this modem, and it's full of a whole bunch of things. I'll put this here so it's stable. It's filled with a whole bunch of things like, you know, frame length, encryption, Ethernet interfaces. It's interesting, they've got a 172.21.164.38 IP. I wonder what lives there. Yeah, they've got, I guess those were the IP addresses of the network. They've got the transmit and receive frequency. So, frequency 130, 1.07 gigahertz. Encryption, broadcast, option files. They have what looks to be hashed passwords here. System tray. It's a system tray. TDMA. UDP VLAN. So, I mean, the FPGA on board's handling a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, they've got like other passwords and things, and more settings and things like that. So I guess this is associated with the modem. Yeah, so there's a control panel to point where the dish is pointing, and azimuth, etc., based on the GPS receiver that you plug into it. And a whole bunch of other stuff. This is amazing. This is this is amusing. Technology's a little predictable, right? If you think they're going to put it on 192.168 dot something and either static IP or, you know, DHCP for an IP address, Sure enough, I found it. But yeah, I think at this point, I don't want to disassemble this any further until I get another crack at this. Yeah, okay, so at this point, I want to hook this up to a dummy load. I want to see if I can transmit somehow, even if I just force inject a signal onto here. I want to see how stuff is working under the hood here. Yeah, there's a lot more to this teardown now. Oh, look at that. Shock-mounted fans. Yeah, there's a lot more to this now that I know at least a little more about this thing. But wow, look at that. It's a piece of military surplus hardware, and I've managed to download files off of it and view hashed passwords. I'm a little surprised if this is actually military, so we'll see. I may decide to censor some of that in the final video. But yeah, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Please let me know if you have any insights into this particular piece of hardware and just what lovely tidbits you have about this. It's unfortunate that the modem board's missing, but I'm going to do some more digging and see if the modem board's a relatively off-the-shelf item. If not, then oh well, I can't go any further with that side. But yeah, that's about it. So see you next time.